All right, I'm pretty close to getting everything like I want it, so this room can be efficient again.
Attention staff, I wanted to let you know the lockup time of the building today. The building will be open until 1:15, and then at 1:15 the building will be locked, so please make sure you have exited so the alarm can be set. Again, everyone needs to be out by 1:15 this afternoon. Have a wonderful weekend, and see you in a day and a half.
You'd think you wouldn't have to remind teachers to leave on a Saturday, but some of us have a lot of work to do. This week I've come across several videos or articles or just little bitty snippets of inspirational media, let's just put it that way, about success. What does it mean to be a successful teacher? I don't know if you've ever thought about that. If you're not a teacher, I don't know if you've ever considered how you would define a successful teacher or not. I don't know that many of us as teachers have ever really sat down and tried to quantify what it means to be a successful teacher. We know that politicians define successful teacher as students with high passing rates on end of the year tests. But there's more to being a successful teacher than having students who score highly on a test.
Building relationships, whether it's working after school with them or during class or going to a special event. I try to every year go to a few students' soccer games, or sometimes I get invited to birthday parties. But I believe in building relationships and making them feel safe in class.
A successful teacher, I would say, I can't necessarily say it would be grades or the student's performance, but I would say more of a connection. And if you see a change of maturity with that student from the time that you were with them at the beginning and towards the end, and you watch them grow as a person, because sometimes you might not see it in test scores or quiz grades, but you can see the actual growth in a human being. So that's how I would define teacher success. If your students grow, with the interaction and the connections with you. Sometimes you have to kind of guide them into decision making and making the right decisions. And just say you were working with a kid at the beginning of the year and they was making all the wrong decisions, hanging around the wrong people, and started to influence them in a positive way, and they started making better decisions, and that impact helps them for the rest of their life. So I look at, sometimes you can look at grades and performance, but I look at the impact for life. Because the teachers that I had, who were the greatest teachers that I still remember, we had an impact. It wasn't just the grades. I don't even remember what I got in that class, but we had a connection, and they taught me life lessons. So that's how I would measure some teacher success.
If I had to define teacher success, it would be watching my students catch their mistakes and being able to improve their own work. Because I feel like that's when you know that learning is taking place. And when my students are improving their own work and building on where they started, that's how I see their growth.
Teacher success, wow, that's a big one. I think I would define teacher success as student growth. You're kind of looking at who your customer is and understanding that our customers as teachers are students. And it's going to be important that we look at their growth and look at student growth both individually and collectively. But I guess the other part of it is making sure we're having an impact on the people that we're working with. Our customer, primary customer, is our student. So we need to make sure that we're making an impact on the customer, positive impact on the customer.
I would define it as students demonstrating some sort of academic success or improvement, and also just being interested after the lesson, that the students are interested in the topic or feeling they want to learn more, that they aren't just going through the motions to, pass a test. I definitely want them to be successful on assessments and demonstrate their learning, but I also want them to feel like what they learned was important. So if I can present the material or give them activities to do that makes them see that, then I think that's successful.
To me, teacher success, it's a little difficult for me to define. As far as what would you use to measure teacher success, I think there's a lot of characteristics that successful teachers have. And those things would be, being open to new ideas, valuing the relationships that they are developing with their students, even past the time when they leave the classroom. So things like that would be characteristics of successful teachers, but measuring teacher success, it would be kind of difficult to pinpoint one thing.
I think successful teachers are more like coaches, and you have to make sure that your students are engaged. And if it was a game of basketball, the coach doesn't get on the court. So encouraging kids to engage with the material is the key to them growing, as far as I can tell at this point. So instead of them watching the show go by and then being asked to practice what they looked at, the idea that they're going through the whole experience each day promotes growth, and that's when I feel successful is when they've engaged with the content.
I posted a poll on Facebook and had people respond so I could get responses from teachers and non-teachers. And of all the respondents, every single person, with the exception of one, responded that one of the characteristics of a successful teacher is one that is well liked by the students. Everyone agreed that it should be that a successful teacher is knowledgeable of his or her content area. I think that some of the things that you have heard from the teachers in this video is that the relationships with the kids are important because there are impacts that we have beyond the academics. Unfortunately, that's not always measurable. For me personally, I think that a successful teacher can be measured by the growth that a student experiences. We can certainly measure academic growth by pre and post test. That gives you an indicator of that. And I believe you can also measure some of those other non-tangibles where you can impact the student, whether it be behavior. You can certainly compare a child's behavior to a previous year and see if it has improved. You can see the types of decisions that he's making. And there's not necessarily a test out there that can show that a student's decision-making ability improved by 27%. It is something that you can see, though. But perhaps those kinds of growth are the most important, because if you grow in those areas, then it gives you a higher possibility of succeeding academically. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe down below. Give my peeps a like for being willing to stand in front of the camera and be interviewed, and be willing to have it posted out here for the whole world to see. And always remember to give somebody a reason to hope and learn something new every day.